So I'm going to share a practice today that I think it's really useful for everybody. It's called Gender as Animal, and it's a movement and reflection practice. I just want to ground why I think this is important for the sake of both embodied parenting and gender creative parenting, and also just for anybody at all, especially in light of what we're talking about regarding gender. Is that it can give you the potential to get a little bit more clarity and authorship over your own gendered experience, whatever gender you identify with. And inside of that, when you're doing that work, it's moving you towards a more fuller authorship and expression of who you are. And I like this practice to do with parents because they can get a little bit of a view on some of those gender-related conditioned tendencies that might show up in their parenting style through just exploring qualities of masculine, feminine, or otherwise in their bodies. So the practice is one that originally a part of this practice came from a workshop I did with a pleasure practitioner, Luna, who does this really great pleasure and body-centered work. And then I sort of adjusted it for my own scope and parameters. But there's kind of three parts to this practice. And each part involves a reflection or a journaling part, and then some movement invitation. So we'll kind of drop in and take a moment, and I'll walk through it through the beats, and if people want to practice it as we go, you can just kind of pause and take your time at each beat. The first key is to spend some time reflecting on first, what your gender identity is. So whatever that is, it could be man, woman, non-binary, genderqueer, something else. And just know that for yourself, because we're going to explore masculine, feminine, and maybe a third space of qualities. And you can start in either direction. I'm going to start with the masculine energy. So what you can do next is write down a list of qualities, personality traits, behaviors, actions in your life that you would associate with the masculine, right? So whether you're a man or a woman or a non-binary person, what do you associate with masculinity in yourself? Spend a little time reflecting. Maybe there's some stuff that shows up in your body already. You could even write that down. If I receive that question, I say, I feel a little heat, I feel a little charge, I feel a little anxious. You could write that down because there's space for that here too. Once you feel like you have some description of this masculine energy, these masculine qualities, as they're self-defined by you, you might take another look at this list and just be curious of these descriptions, of these qualities you've named, which ones feel like they come from a cultural background, which ones feel like they're really just yours, to the degree, whatever degree you're able to discern the difference. Once we have that, we're going to do a little movement exploration. So you might take these qualities and just imagine if they were to be an animal, what animal would they be? So here we're talking about your masculine, the masculinity as you perceive it in yourself. What animal might that be? You could vision it, you could close your eyes, you could draw it, you could write it down, and whenever you feel ready, you could maybe explore taking that animal for a little walk or a little movement here, right? So whatever the animal might be, how would they move? How would their body shape be? Would they be moving? Would they be lying or sitting, resting, right? What's their energy? How quickly do they move? How energetically do they move? What are they looking for? What do they want? What are they oriented towards? So you can use your whole body, you can use your senses, touching, feeling, seeing, tasting, right? Maybe your animal wants to eat. Go get some fruit from the kitchen or something, right? So you can incorporate lots of elements into this play, this exploration. Give yourself a couple minutes to explore this masculine animal in you. And then we're going to come to the feminine side. So we'll take the same structure here. First, you start with identifying, no matter what gender you are, what are the feminine qualities you see in yourself. And also you could note down responses you're having to the question and the invitation too. because that information can be useful too. Like if I'm more uncomfortable looking at my feminine or my masculine side or vice versa, it could be useful information. And once you have that list, that description of your feminine qualities, the same here, taking a moment to just check in with, as much as you can discern, which of these are informed by a cultural or institutional background, right? Which of them have been ones that are told to you, this is feminine, this is what it means to be feminine. And which of them feel like they're just for you? With all of that information, check in with an animal here, right? Is there an animal that you can vision, if you close your eyes, that you can draw or speak out or write down, that represents your feminine side? And then explore taking that animal for a little movement, for a little walk, or a little dance around the room. Again here, how fast is it moving? How much is it moving? Where does it want to go? What does it want? What is it oriented towards? Touching, feeling, seeing, tasting, smelling, listening. And once you've done that, we have now a third option here to present to ourselves. And this third option is for everyone, whatever gender you identify with, man, woman, non-binary, or otherwise. The third option is if you were to take these two creatures and create like a mythical beast, either in combination of them or just kind of from your imagination purely sprouting out right now, if there's some mythical creature that brings some of these elements together for you from your masculine and your feminine side, this is your third animal. So you can spend a moment maybe looking at some qualities that are key for you or that came up in your movement, thinking about the two animals you have and like bringing them together. What is this third option, this mythical creature energy? When you feel like you have an image, a vision, or description of that for yourself, explore the movement of that creature. What qualities does it combine? How is it different? The way that it's moving, the energy. How does it feel in your body to move inside of this creature? You might notice moments where you're coming more towards the masculine or the feminine energy of the previous animals. Just like noticing that, which direction you're going in or you're tending towards, what other options there are, what other ways of moving are there. You may be moving a lot or a little bit, just noticing that. There's no right or wrong way, but anything you're doing is useful information in the practice, useful space to play inside of. And when you complete that last period of movement, it can be useful to just sit or stand for a moment and take a check-in with your body. And so how are you feeling? How's your mood or energy after this? Noticing if there was any moment in any part of that practice that really struck on something for you that you want to just like re-ground into and internalize. Like, oh, I really noticed something interesting about my masculine that I hadn't thought about before. Or that mythical creature, non-binary thing was really weird or hard for me to do. I don't really get that, you know? So just like checking in with any of those questions or insights. It can be useful to maybe journal a little bit after this. And then also be curious about what you feel like you can take away from the practice, if anything. Is there a little edge to gender discovery for you? Is there something inside the masculine or feminine that feels like, that really came from culture? That doesn't need to be me. And you can work on thinking about how you might practice releasing that cultural shape of gender.